Hey, I'm Will Pimmerman. Today we'll be installing our Toyota 4Runner 5th Gen Venture Series bumper. The bumper we are installing today is powder coated. The bumpers we ship to you and sell are raw, bare steel, and they will need to be painted or powder coated. So what you're gonna get when you get our bumpers, you're gonna get the bumper and 2 3/8 bolts, minimal hardware. Most of the hardware you use to mount the bumper back up to the 4Runner is factory hardware. So here are the tools you're gonna need to install the 4Runner Venture bumper. You're gonna need some flathead screwdrivers. All right, we'll put that one a little bit further away. 10mm wrench, 9/16 wrench, some different size ratchets. The sockets, we're gonna want a 10mm, a 12mm, 14mm, and 9/16. Next up, you'll want a razor blade for trimming the bumper, a Sharpie to mark the bumper, a measuring tape, and also to help trim the bumper. You can use either a blowtorch or a heat gun to help heat up the razor blade to cut through the plastic bumper like a hot knife through butter. Whoosh. Step 1 is to mark the bumper for trimming. I like to mark the bumper before taking it off. It's a little bit easier. It makes it so once you get the bumper off, you can trim it. I like to trim it on. I will be doing trimming while it's on the vehicle. From this body line, you're gonna measure down 1¼ to 1 3/8. Anywhere in that area, you're good to trim. So just a reminder, guys, in cutting your front bumper, you don't have to worry too much about the line because it's all covered up. We designed this so once you do trim, it's hidden, so it's really hard to mess up. You won't see your trim lines. You are just cutting to have clearance on the inside to clear the Artec Venture Series bumper. Now on the sides of the bumper, you're gonna follow this body line up where the silver Sharpie is, and you'll follow this body line on both sides and round it out up to your mark of 1¼ to 1 3/8 down. The next step is to start taking off the bumper. We're gonna be taking off the top plastic cover. We're gonna first start by popping all these plastic retainers. Once you've pushed down all the plastic pieces, you can pop them out with a screwdriver. Next step, we will use a 10mm socket to remove this bolt. After you remove the top 2 clips, there's 4 more underneath. They have to remove as well. Now that we've removed all the clips on top, we're gonna move to the sides and remove all the bolts on the sides. Then we'll go underneath and remove the bolts from underneath. Using a 10mm socket, I'm gonna remove these 3 bolts. There's one thing I want to stress to you. When you pull out this top bolt, there's a little plastic piece right here that goes behind the retainer. When you go to pull this off, you want to make sure to use a screwdriver, pry bar, whatever, to pry this up and over the plastic so it does not catch and rip out. Let's lift it up now and get the ones underneath and pull off that bottom skid plate. Now that we've got raised up, I'm gonna remove these 7 bolts with a 10mm socket and remove this plastic clip and take off this plastic cover. There's 3 on the driver's side and 2 on the passenger side. You'll use your 10mm socket to remove these bolts. Now that we've got everything unbolted, there's one last step. If you're doing this install by yourself, you want to unplug the factory fog lights before you remove the bumper. If you have someone helping you, You guys can pull off the bumper together and each of you can unplug each light. Yeah, there it is. All right, now we got that off. I have no idea what to do next. No, I'm joking. To remove these bolts, you'll use a 14mm socket. Now that you've taken all the bolts off the crash bar, you're gonna remove it. Right now it's held on by 2 clips on each side. You'll lift the crash bar up, pull it out, and drop it down. You ready? Yeah. We got the crash bar off. We're gonna wipe off our frame plates. Our bumper bolts right back up to where the crash bar came off. It'll bolt reusing the 4 holes on each side. We are gonna have to trim these air dams. Toyota designed these for a reason and they're on here for a reason. A lot of companies will have you take them off to fit their bumper. We would prefer you leave them on because it forces air into your radiator and keeps your 4Runner cool. So we will show you how to trim them out to clear our bumper. In trimming the air dam on the driver's side, right here you can see this bend. We'll mark back about 1 inch behind the bend and we'll come forward to about there. You can leave this piece in, but we're going to trim this piece out to allow the gusset to slide into the air dam. You can use a standard razor blade, or you can also use, they call them roofing razor blades that are hooked like this. I use these, it makes it a lot easier to trim plastic. Another tech tip is if you heat the blade and then trim the plastic, it cuts through it a lot easier. So on the passenger side, we're gonna trim. We're gonna measure down 1.5 inches from this line down the face and mark it with a Sharpie. Once that's marked, see this crease in the factory bend? Mark a Sharpie line there and draw a straight line from your 2 marks, and that's where you're gonna cut down to.
Sacrifice. Sacrifice.
Yeah, it's like hot knife through butter.
Yep.
Now that everything's trimmed, we'll get the bumper up, hook it onto the frame horns, and get it bolted on. So you'll see on our bumper, we incorporate little tabs to help hold the bumper up while you bolt it. So basically, you just lift the bumper up and hang it from the frame horn. These are similar to the tabs on the factory crash bar that holds the crash bar on. I've hung the bumper. I put in 1 of the factory bolts back in just to hold it, to make sure it doesn't fall off. The tabs are there to help you get it up, but you want to secure it with at least 1 bolt to keep it from falling off. Right now we got it up just to check and make sure we have everything trimmed correctly. Next we're going to pull this off, put the factory bumper back on, trim the factory bumper, and then reinstall the bumper for its final install. I put on the front bumper, only installing the connectors in the front right below the lights. I've only snapped them in right there just to lightly hold the bumper. Well, I'm just gonna leave it connected like that right now while I trim the front piece out.
Let's go to the theater with Carl.
Now that we've trimmed the center section, we can install the Artec Venture Series bumper for the final time. Guys, we designed this bumper using Toyota CAD files and tolerances are tight. For an insurance policy not to scratch your factory bumper where it matters, use some tape to tape off the body. Here are the winch mount and the fair lead mount. The customer that we're installing this on today isn't sure about which winch he wants to run yet, so we're just leaving it out. You can also install a 30-inch light bar in the front of this bumper as well. When you get ready to install a bumper for its final install, you want to grab 2 bolts. So once you hang it up, you can secure it on with 2 bolts. Go grab your other bolts and fully fasten it up. So the 2 bolts you grab, they're easiest to install right through the access point.
Got it.
And then you go in and go through the inner fender wall and install the other 3 bolts on the outside. Now that we got the bumper all tightened up, we're gonna button up the whole rest of the bumper and we'll be good to go. I'll show you how to tighten up the 7 bolts on the bottom, and we'll put the top balance back on and you'll be ready to rock. Using your 10mm wrench, we're gonna install our bolts back in the bumper. So this is where we're gonna use the 2 bolts we send with the bumper to attach the plastic bumper to the Artec metal bumper. Now that we've gotten everything tightened up on the bottom, we're gonna put our air dam back in and tighten up everything up top. Pop in all the plastic rivets, get everything good to go. Woo! On these plastic clips, you wanna pop them back up to reset them. Just push on the bottom, popping the center piece up. Reinsert it into the hole and lightly push it down until it snaps once. You snap it twice, it resets it to pull it out. Now that we got all the plastic clips back in, we're done under the hood and ready to close it and wrap this up. Now that we got the bumper install done, you're ready to rock. Go use it, abuse it, and wheel your rig. Hey, if you like this install video, make sure you subscribe to our channel right here.